Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're here basically in mudland. We've had a lot of rain over the last few days, and we're getting basically a monsoon tomorrow, so yay. So if you're wondering why Shadowfax is muddy, that would be why. And I'm trying to actually stay out of his sun, because he's sunning himself, because the last few days have been so rainy that really they just want to lay in the sun. That's why Arwen's here too. So I'm trying not to block his sunshine. Okay, so if you can't get a good view of him, that's just the way it goes, because I don't want to get in his way. He really is loving the sun right now, and I don't blame him. It's been so cloudy this week. And we got a monsoon coming tomorrow. So, yeah, I don't blame him. Today I wanted to talk about when you bring your mini horse home and have to integrate him with your existing herd. Now, if you don't have an existing herd, if you just have one mini horse, so you just have one Shadowfax, then you know what? It's not really that big a deal. Because then you just bring him home, you put him in his pen, you make sure he's comfortable, make sure he's happy, and you're done. What if you have other mini horses? So, if you have other horses on the property, large or small, doesn't really matter. So if you have other horses at all, then first thing you want to do is quarantine. One of the best things I've ever been told by anyone was an experienced farmer who told me 30 feet, 30 days. Okay, and that applies to all animals of all types. 30 feet for 30 days. And what does that mean? 30 feet for 30 days means get them 30 feet away from your existing critters. Nice muddiness there, bud. But you get them 30 feet away from the existing critters that are like them. So horses away from horses for 30 days. Okay, that's what 30 feet for 30 days means. It doesn't mean I have to keep a goat away from the horses. They really can't pass too much back and forth. It's the same type of animal. So when you bring a new horse home and you already have horses, whether they're big or small, get them 30 feet away from each other for 30 days. That way, if the new arrival does end up having something, end up being ill or something like that, then it's not that big a deal. They are separated from the rest of your herd, and it's a non-issue. So 30 feet, 30 days. It's an excellent rule of thumb. Okay? So, once you've quarantined, and by the way, to quarantine, you do need a spot to quarantine. So if you are going to set up for miniature horses or even full-size horses, you look fantastic, you're so muddy. You need a spot to quarantine newcomers if you're going to have more than one. So we can quarantine down at the other end of the property. There's a pen that you really haven't seen much because I only use it for quarantining. And we haven't really had large animals come, so we don't really use it. There's a pen that was here on the property, and it's through those trees. And it's actually inside those trees. So you haven't really seen it too much. And we don't really use it, but we could if we had to. Big yawns. Big pony yawns. Because it's so pretty in the sun. Yeah, makes you tired. Look at that mud. Look at that mud on his butt. I'm going to have to get your curry comb, man, and get that mud off you. It looks so horrible. Mud is mud. What are you going to do about mud? Nothing. So, yeah. Mud is mud. Right? So mud is mud. We're going to just live with it. So, okay, so that was quarantine. So once you have quarantined, you can start bringing them together. Now, I'm just going to mention that it's not a bad idea to have a quarantine spot, even if you're not going to get extra horses, because maybe someone is ill and they need to be isolated. Maybe one of your animals is a bully. It's not a bad idea to have a spot away from the rest of them, like over there, to quarantine, to isolate, things like that. It's not a bad idea. So when you're setting up, you might want to take that into consideration anyway. But assume that you have now finished quarantining. It's time to bring them together. If you only have 2 horses, this is easier to do, 2 or 3. If you have a large herd, it's a little more complicated. So first up, no matter what, you want to introduce them through a fence. Okay? Absolutely introduce them through a sturdy fence. You will have some squealing and some kicking no matter how many mini horses you have. The newcomer is new. They don't know him. So there's going to be some kicking and some squealing. As long as there's a sturdy fence, nobody will get hurt. That's why you introduce through a sturdy fence. Remember that horses are herd animals, so they're quite defensive to newcomers. Okay, they really don't like newcomers. So it can take a little bit for the squealing and the kicking to settle down. Once it does, here's where you have to figure out the best way based on the number of horses. So if you only have 1 or 2 horses already, and so you're bringing in a second or a third, then you pretty much, now it's time to just put the horses in the same pen together. If you have more than that, the newcomer can really end up picked on. Okay, so if you have more horses than 2 or 3, you need to anticipate the fact that you are definitely going to have a problem if you just take that newbie and stick him in the pen. Okay, so what you want to do, let's say you have 4 horses, 3 of them are existing, and then there's 1 newbie. Pretend Arwen's the newbie. What you want to do is you want to take the one of the existing horses, so one of the 3, and put it in with the newbie. Okay? You want to make sure that that newbie and the new horse get to know each other. They get used to each other. They become friends. So that can take a couple weeks. Tequila, come here. Sorry, Tequila's on my arm. Tequila, you're being weird. So what you want to do is give the new horse a friend. Obviously, if you only have 2 horses, including the newbie, that doesn't work. But if you have a larger herd, so already you have 3 horses or more, you want to take one of the existing horses and put it in with the newbie and let them make friends. Because if you throw one horse into a group of 3 plus, that new horse is going to end up picked on. Remember, these are herd animals. They are expecting to be treated like a herd animal. And a new horse is an intruder. So respect the fact that they do have a herd mentality, and don't put a new horse alone in with a group that could pick on him. So once the new horse has made a friend, you can then bring the 2 horses in together into the group. So what you do is you just bring them together. They've been meeting through a fence, remember. So they've been side by side. Now you're just putting them together. And that tends to go better than just trying to put them together without any lead time. Because unless your herd is really accepting, you're going to end up with a problem. So take it slow. Remember that the new horse will disrupt the hierarchy of the existing herd. No matter how long they were side by side, adding that new horse is going to upset the hierarchy of horses. Expect that. Expect pinned ears, chasing, nipping. That's going to happen. You might still have a little bit of squealing. That's going to happen. Just watch for escalation and real violence. So there's a difference between a nip and outright biting the heck out of you. Right? So you just want to watch to see how bad it gets. And if it really starts to escalate, you want to not immediately remove the new horse. Hi, guys. You don't want to immediately remove the new horse. Look and see who's the instigator. Usually there's a specific bully. Okay? Usually there is one specific horse causing the problem. And it's usually not the newbie. So what you want to do is you want to take that one specific horse and remove that one and put that one on the other side of the fence. Not isolate him in the middle of nowhere forever, but just stick him on the other side of the fence so that bully becomes the outsider. Put him in that other pen for a few days and then bring him back. And that should help tone down the bullying, because you don't want to just leave the bully in there to constantly pick on whoever is being picked on. Okay, it's not fair to do that to the new horse. So make sure you isolate that bully. Don't pull the new horse. The new horse isn't doing anything wrong. Pull the instigator and put them on the other side of the fence. Give them a few days, reintegrate, because you don't have to do the whole moving another horse into the pen so there's 2 of them. because that horse is already part of the herd. Just separate them for a few days, let things calm down. That will really help reset the herd dynamics. Okay? Use the largest space you have available for your herd of mini horses, and don't overcrowd. If your pen is only large enough for one mini horse, don't add a second. Okay? You don't have to have 5 mini horses if you can't fit 5. So overcrowding will lead to drama between the horses, and they could get hurt. You just don't overcrowd. If your pen's only big enough for 1, just have 1. If the pen's big enough for 2, just have 2. Don't shove more horses into that space than is appropriate. Otherwise, they are going to fight, and you're not going to be able to tone down the drama because they just don't have enough space. Overcrowding is a really large problem. One last thing. Horses are a lot like people. Some of them simply do not ever get along. There may come a time where you have 2 horses, and no matter what you do, they just can't coexist. So in a larger herd, this is actually easier to manage, because in a larger herd, the horses that can't stand each other can go find other friends, and they can usually coexist okay, as long as they each have another friend. If, however, you have a smaller herd, and let's say you only have 3 horses, and 2 of them hate each other, you have to do something. Okay, you can't just let the 2 of them hate on each other. I would just remove one of them or find a friend for that one, because honestly, it is not worth trying to make them get along. Sometimes certain horses, certain humans, they just don't get along, and that is okay, right? There are people I just don't get along with, and no matter what you do, I'm not going to get along with them. The same is true of horses. So if you have a couple that just can't stand each other, you're going to have to work on a solution. Either separate them into different pens, which is a viable solution, rehome one to a better home where they have a better dynamic with that existing herd, or, just find it a friend, separate it, find it a friend so everyone has friends, then you're fine. But either way, you do have to deal with that if you've got a couple of horses that simply do not like each other, because mini horses can be stubborn. They're even more stubborn than their larger counterparts. So if that mini horse hates another mini horse, they're not likely to just get over it. Anyway, that is about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. It's getting windy, and a storm is definitely going to roll in overnight. We'll see you tomorrow.